H here. Ah, you're back again. Gird yourself. I was embroiled in supernatural entanglements recently, and the tentacles of the other world are still desperately clinging to me. Etherically speaking. Listen closely. I will only tell you this once, and it may decide your fate. His name? Me. Mr. H here. This one is about me. From my personal files. Location, New York City. New York. A date, mere days ago. Now be quiet and listen. I have to make this as quick as possible. They're after me, and I shall have to slip their snares and fly if they get to me sooner than beneficent for our endeavor. Did you ever hear of the elevator game? I'm sure you did. I am sure you did. Everyone knows of it from internet fame. Well, I traveled to the Big Apple, where plenty of available buildings could facilitate a 10-story mad meandering in the dead of early morning. And I succeeded. Here is what I found as I experienced it. It was some building or other on Madison Avenue near the park. Any would do, and the nominal bribe I granted to the lone security guard allowed me unfettered access to a few minutes of joyriding without interruption. The fact that I wore a nice suit with plenty of pockets for supplies and a stupendously mesmeric tie with a double Windsor, and keenly trimmed my beard to appear cultured and collected, did aid my way. Anyway, as per instructions, I entered the ground floor and selected the fourth from the elevator control panel. Once the fourth appeared, I commanded the metal cage to descend to the second floor. It did. I then directed it to the sixth, and up I went. Back to the second, and once the doors opened, I hit the 10th button to ascend. Again, I commanded it to descend. But at the 5th floor, I held my breath. This is where it was supposed to get interesting, and indeed it did. The talons of the supernatural were indeed onto me, and I felt this fatuous fad might turn fatefully fruitful. Remember, dear listener, that I was alone and that no one knew of what I was doing aside from a clueless security guard that merely believed I was going on a joyride in his building. What I was to encounter would be mine alone to experience and mine alone to untangle if it were to get knotted. Oh, it was indeed appearing to get turbid and trying, as the doors opened on the 5th floor of this building, and indeed the mystery woman was waiting outside those sliding steel slabs, guarding the ingress. Yes, it was her. My heart leapt. Unable to avoid the recommended rules, I caught the merest glimpse of this sentinel sylph. Just a hint, but enough to procure details I could convey. She was a siren indeed. A true supernatural siren, with that damnable health and beauty these tricksters will project in hopes of breaking the wisdom of the sage and the will of the willful. A mid-height, slender Asian with prominent bone structure and deadly expressive eyes. She wore a perfectly tailored chalk-striped dress suit cut above her knees and black polished high heels. Yes, indeed. I do notice these things, you know. Anyway, instantly, I used my COVID haircut to obscure any image before me as I lowered my head and shifted it away from her advancing form, giving an awkward and bestial grunt. But I made sure not to say an intelligible word or interact with this escort, as per instructions. My hand jutted out swiftly to avoid her getting control of the elevator. I poked the 1st floor button as if trying to compete for prizes on a game show, and off we went. But we were going upwards, not down to the 1st, but upwards. I had succeeded. This was apotheosis. It was to be my finest hour, or my final minutes. I began to feel my heart pounding, my breath quickening, and my mind growing fevered. This woman that went to the back of the metal box, this sentry of the abyss between our world and another of unknown construct, began to interrogate me gently. "Who are you?" she asked me. I remained dead quiet and motionless. "Where are you going?" she asked me. Again, I stood frozen in my place, obedient to the rules laid out in popular culture, to avoid perdition at the hands of some demon terrible. "What do you wish to achieve with this endeavor?" she asked me again. I grew suspicious. It was then that my curiosity overwhelmed me, and I realized I could spy on this maniacal Medusa through the highly polished stainless steel surrounding us. Yay for New York City janitors and cleaning folk! The walls were absolutely perfect, without blemish or smear, and in that reflection, as I lifted my countenance a fraction of an inch, raising my eye to see her, was a serpentine face stuffed into a female shell of a suit. I averted my gaze quickly. This woman wasn't a woman at all, but a serpent. A subtle and clever beast, continuing the con that brought men to original sin and degraded our bountiful world into a mire of toil and pain. A few seconds of silence remained between us, her last words lingering in the air as I grew unbelievably nervous and anxious that I might do something desperate. I knew myself better than I ever even knew myself. At that moment I had no truly wild thoughts, but as we stopped and the doors opened, I was brought closer to the brink of the temptress. She began to speak again. "You won't succeed," her voice droned on as my first foot left the elevator. "Mr. H," she punctuated her sentence. Ha! Time slowed down for me. How did she know? The weasels were onto me. They were spying on me from ethereal viewpoints beyond my ken, as they usually do. Their network of demonic communications were precise and keen and had me pegged as to my initial intent, but not so clever they. They didn't know what was in my heart, or what I might be capable of. I spun. I faced my taunting co-traveler and cried, "Harpy!" My right hand was already acting before my thoughts were complete. Oh, glorious subconscious and survival instinct! I flung a sizable capsule of Catholic-blessed holy water into the steel crate I had just left, and I saw it shattered against the back wall to douse the wicked lizard and all surfaces with a pure fluid fortified with goodness and protections undreamt of. Instantly, the water caught fire. It was like gasoline in this immoral and depraved version of reality. I had slipped the bounds of a man's realm and been firmly entrenched in an antechamber of hell itself by the looks of it. The doors closed on the conflagration, trapping the evil woman inside, screeching and flailing in the heavenly fire I had unleashed. I praised the Holy Spirit quickly and looked sideways left and right to see an ever-darkening corridor stretching east and west toward lighted ends far down these blighted tunnels. All the myriad doors had blood oozing from under them, and pentagrams painted roughly in red, or perhaps sacrificial blood, were filling the frames of those doors. A groaning and tortured bellow overtook the screaming from within the elevator, and suddenly the doors buckled outward with hulkish intensity. I backed up to avoid getting flattened by the doors should they burst outward and detach. Inside, the flames grew to infernal pitch, and I could see shapes rapidly darting around inside the confine. Angels! Figures of light flashing sword and sinew. Shadow figures and lighted beings fled the elevator to cause chase into the distance, many disappearing through the walls somewhere along the way. A A true hullabaloo was now growing in this ersatz building. The doors began to creak open. I took this as a sign to run, and run fast I did to avoid whatever hellhounds might appear and give battle. My escape route, the elevator, was obviously out of commission. I would need more than luck to survive this ordeal. Indeed. While running, I had my phone camera in one hand and a bottle of holy water in the other, topped off and liberally sprinkling precious fluid gift onto the doorways I passed. A King James Version mini-Bible was clenched in my teeth, the way Rona Zorro holds his third katana. The holy water was slashing across the faces of demonic creatures, chimera monsters of devil's design. Some were human in appearance, others having more animal features and limbs, some reptilian. It was a menagerie of the damnable. And they were all recoiling in unexpected terror from the burning effects of the blessed liquid. Smoke and fire erupted. The angelic creatures, obscured by their blinding light, careened into the rooms. And after the howling mobs of perverse creations inhabiting that place, I ran and ran, throwing ampules, spritzing my remaining water, and inwardly hoping for divine intervention to deliver me from evil. The ends of these corridors never came closer. I was running out of ammo and growing weary, the smoke and heat wearing down my agility and endurance. Up ahead, demons were emerging into the hallway and turning toward me, to target me, and to advance swiftly to attack. To flay. To obliterate my carnal form and drag my soul into their realm of eternal tortures. Yet a sign did emerge, and I was indeed blessed, indeed, by pure fortune, serendipity, or the hand of God himself, perhaps. There was a bold red cross, perfectly screen printed on a black door next to me, to the south. I plunged into it, as a dozen flailing tendrils and clawed paws desperately yearned to rip my flesh. And I fell. Darkness, nothing. It was not cool nor hot, not up nor down, nor anything aside from dark for a span of perhaps 20 seconds. I floated in silence. And then sploosh! I was in water, or something water-like, and wading about in frantic survival mode. I heard a rush of water draining in on this chamber. Its walls were rounded and smooth as I probed swiftly about, and then I spied a mere slit of light above me, and I scraped and pushed at the opening to hopefully enlarge its scope and escape these boundaries. I was applying inhuman force to the area and bending metal upwards, but not enough to emerge. I could only peer out and see a blue sky and a few unknown city buildings in the distance. Mustering all my power, I pushed again and was able to bend this hatch up enough to squeeze out and berth myself onto the floor below. Standing again, wet and worn down, I saw a large city around me as I was perched on top of a tall structure somewhere. The thing I had been in was a water tank of some sort. There was a nearby door I attempted to open, but it was locked, secured. But a security camera was watching me, and its owners were quickly through that door and escorting me roughly down endless flights of stairs. They asked irritating questions and threatened to hand me over to the police as soon as the law would arrive. When in the lobby, moments before being manhandled into the office of this place, I roughly shook them off and sped out the front doors down the street. I looked back in the midday light to see a sign painted on the side. Hotel Cecil. I was in Los Angeles. The mystery of Elisa Lamb was a mystery no longer. and I was free, though still pursued a while longer until I could ditch the rascals from that blighted locale. It took me a while to get to the airport and expel from that cursed city, but away I was. And here I am! The photos, well, what can I say? They exist. I took copious photographic evidence of that hellhole and its vile inhabitants, but alas, they are blurred. They look like they were filmed on a potato, and they're about as fake as can be. Do all devils need to look like rubber-masked stuntmen with joins and zippers unobscured for all to scoff at? Ridiculous! I succeeded in my mind alone. And to the rest of the world, I am a mere culprit of sensationalism and attention whoring. Another desperate fame junkie out for a free meal and a cult of personality. Away, Agent XJ7. That is all I can say. They are here, and they want my hide, and I must away. Like and subscribe before I die. And ring the little bell, or you will surely go to hell.
Oh, we're telling spooky stories. This is not a spooky story. Oh, there's no way on the couch I can
it
say.
depends how you look at it. It is kind of spooky.
I guess so.
Wait, that's it? That's the end of the story?
That is a